Welcome to the Eagle Heritage Project podcast. My name is Bill Thompson, Executive Director, Engagement Initiatives, and Heritage Project here at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Today, we are at the flight line of the Embry-Riddle Daytona Beach, Florida campus in the podcast studio, where we have a very special guest we look forward to having you meet and learn about. What do we do here at the Eagle Heritage Project? We talk to the people who've made a difference. They're the heart and soul of Embry-Riddle. They're the folks who've really inspired our young students. They've inspired faculty. They've inspired so many people throughout the years and those in the community. So today, I have the honor of bringing in Coach Steve Ritter. For those of you who don't know Coach Ritter, I think everybody out there does, but you need to know who this gentleman is, because not only is he, I'd say, pivotal in the community, you're pivotal in the state, you're pivotal in the name of basketball, collegiate basketball. And Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Delighted and honored to be here.
All right, so we're going to do this in the unplugged version.
Okay.
You know, we always have standard questions. We always go forward, but I mean, this is the podcast, right?
And we have a friendship.
Yes, we do. We have a friendship, and we knew that each one of us would probably wear light blue shirts today. So, you know, gray hair, light blue shirts. What
It's in these days.
Both over, 20-something years. So, 31 years at Riddle. So, first off, how did you get to Embry-Riddle?
Interesting, because I was in this state called Kentucky where basketball is really, really important, right? And I kid people, they'll kick you out of there if you don't enjoy it. But I was, Vicki and I were at Berea College. We had gotten married at age 21, Bill. And long story short, I was offered a job with Goodyear Aerospace Corporation in Akron, Ohio, where they build the blimps. And we had just gotten married at age 21 and ready to take that job. She had a teaching job. We're ready to do it. And my college coach says, Ritter, you were born to coach, man. You're a leader. You can't be doing that Goodyear Aerospace. Come back and be my assistant coach. And I said, well, they offered me $35,000. That was like $3.5 million, right? Compared to what we were right out of college. And long story short, coach said, let's do this thing. I said, what are you paying? He said, $500. I'm like, $500 a day, a week? What? He said, no, that'd be for the whole season. So I'm like, that's going to be tough. I just asked this really awesome girl to marry me, but that would be a different change of plans. And we did it. And that was age 21. And for the next 8 years, to be able to coach, I had to find some other jobs. In that 8-year span, I was a chief accountant, assistant basketball, head baseball, financial aid, Pell Grant verification, taught tennis classes. And then for us to make it financially, we went back in the dorm where we lived, and we were dorm directors for 8 years, which meant people knocking on our door throughout the day and night. Coach, somebody's got beer in the room, not in a dry town. Somebody's doing this. We did that for 8 years where we had no mortgage payments, no utilities, because one day, our dream was to have a nice home, not a house, a home and a large family. And I wanted to be a college basketball coach. So that's what happened at age 29. Tom Fisher took the AD job at Embry-Riddle the year before. He was a professor and the baseball coach at Berea College. So he gets to be the AD at Embry-Riddle. And they were 0-22 the 1 year. So he starts calling me and says, hey, they're going to maybe let us have a full-time coach. I'd love for you to come down and interview. And that's where it started. I wasn't sure we wanted to at least interview. Vicki kind of said, you need to go down and look at it. Came down and looked at it. And as the story goes, what was your record last year? 0-22. Wow, not a strong winning tradition. What about facilities? Outdoor courts, but they're good ones. I'm like, outdoor court? How about scholarships? We don't have scholarships. I'm like, wow, what a great college job. 5,000 students, not looking the way our campus looks today. So Vic and I talked about it. They offered me $27,500 in 1989. And Vicki and I said, man, let's go do this thing. It gets us out of the dorm. We had our two kids at that time, and later 4. So that's how it all started. And it's been 35, 36 plus years of being here. And it's been a tremendous ride.
It has been a great ride for us and the community and everything you've done. But you've already mentioned truly the pinnacle of your career, and you're just shy of 800 wins in your basketball career. But truly the pinnacle of your career, you've already mentioned it, Vicki.
Yeah.
And your family.
Yeah.
Incredible. So
it is, Bill. Vicki and I, we got married early, and when you go to a school called Berea College, you had to be really smart. I was on the bubble, but you had to be really poor. That's how you got in. And so we've had to really work hard and build the family unit and really have been blessed to, the life that we get to live.
Well, and if I were to think back, you must have had another job offer besides coming to Embry-Riddle, and you probably had an interview at that time. You're interviewing here with someone at Embry-Riddle, and you're interviewing maybe at another college, that's or another school that's saying, "Hey, we could bring you in." Do you have any interview lessons you'd want to share with the students out there?
I have ones that I want them to stay away from and do a little bit more research. And when you're hearing about things that you should say or not say, pay really attention. Because I try to get a high school job and you'll say, you did not say that. I was in an interview for a high school job and they said, Coach, it's down to 3 people. You're the only college coach. Tell us why you're so interested in this high school job. And I said, wow, it's got a great facility. It's in a perfect part of the state where you can be for a state championship. And this school loves basketball because it's pretty obvious because you really have not had good football teams the last 10 years. True story. Guy stands up and says, hi, Coach. I'm Coach Jones. I've been the football coach for the last 10 years. I'm just going to go on record, Bill. I didn't have a chance much after I made that statement about the football program. But I remember my coach saying, I think it's a great job because they love basketball and they really don't emphasize football. But I had to share that with the interviewing committee. So I always kid, I got the Embry-Riddle job because I couldn't really get the high school job. So that's how it ended.
Well, very good. And I had inside knowledge on that story, so that's why I had to go, okay, here we go.
That's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. So I've got to do some research before I bring you in.
Yeah.
So Embry-Riddle, where we are today, the athletic program, you're athletic director as well. I mean, not only when you left before, what you were doing before, you were dorm directors, everything else. You came here as a person, you did everything as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you just coached basketball.
Right.
It was the way we started. So let's talk about those early years, but really, how did you sell the program? How did we get to where we are today? What was the steps?
The one thing I would share with anybody when I'm asked to, do a little bit of talking and doing some different speaks, I just talk about how important it is for every great leader to have a vision. And that's backed up with a strategic plan and objectives and goals and assessments, right? And then assembling the right team and getting everybody to buy into the plan and then digging in. But I was only the basketball coach. I did work for admissions early in the first couple of years, but being the basketball coach without having any facilities, I remember those first year or two, I was torn up because I saw the potential when I took the job of what Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University from an academic standpoint and the impact and worldwide. But, as a basketball coach, I was somewhat limited. But what happened is us losing those first 19 games and me quickly realizing this was not going to be a place that Vicki and I would be able to stay because we were the only school in the Florida-Georgia district that did not offer financial assistance, scholarships in the recruitment of student athletes. So when I went to the director of athletics and says, it's doomsday, we have no facilities, we don't have scholarships, I don't care who comes. John Wooden could walk in this door. He's not recruiting without scholarships and doing this thing. And Dean Rocket, to this day, is one of my greatest mentors. He was the dean of student affairs. And he said, Coach, what's the answer? I said, the answer is, philosophically, we got to sell our faculty and staff on the implementation of scholarships or this is never going to work. Steve Whitmer was the budget director, and he was sitting there and he said, Coach, I got your back because I can verify and validate we can do it financially. But it's going to be a tough sell because we don't even have academic scholarship. I said, well, this is crazy. How are we going to have a world-class university if we're not offering academic scholarships? So we went around, Bill, to all the departments because the president told me, said, you think I'm just going to hand you scholarships? I'm not. You will do the presentations, and in April, we're going to put it in front of faculty senate, and they're going to vote either yes, they value enough to implement it or not. So we started going around to the engineering department, selling the idea, came up with the student, person, player, challenged everyone saying we would recruit just as good, if not better, than the currently enrolled student. We weren't going to ask for special admission standards and academic exceptions. And they liked that idea, although I don't think they really believed that we could bring in as good, if not better. And then we went to aeronautical science, and they seemed a little bit more receptive. We went to business, and they're like, hey, this could be we could become more like a university. And I remember it's April 25th, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and the dean called me at 4:30. He said, Coach, are you sitting down? I said, yes, because kind of my future.
Yeah.
He says, we're in 82% of faculty and senate voted in favor of scholarships. So we'll talk about next year how we start some tuition waivers. And that got us started.
What year was that?
1990.
1990. And it was President Tolman was the president at the time.
Exactly.
And you had to sell him on this program first.
Absolutely. He made me as well. He said, well, you think I'm just going to hand it to you? I'm not. You go get with our faculty and staff, and this is something they think is important, and we'll make it happen. And then we got really lucky, as you well know. Dr. Steve Slee hit town for us, and he was all about a first-class intercollegiate athletic program, and that's where we were able to add sports and facilities and scholarship and infrastructure. And our dream was to build one of the best intercollegiate athletic programs in the country that every faculty and staff member would be proud of, that a president would say, this is how you build an athletic, where that trustees would look and say, we have a model program, and man, is it bringing some impact to this community as well.
Absolutely. So let's talk.
Yeah.
So back then when you were talking,
Yeah.
we had basketball.
Yeah.
And club baseball, correct?
Well, we actually, when I first got here, we actually have 5 sports. They had basketball was starting. Baseball was a club, but it was turning into a intercollegiate sport. But golf and tennis were right there as well, and soccer. Those were our 5 sports. And today, as you well know, we have over 20 sports, over 500 student athletes. One of the most difficult things, Bill, was trying to be, when I took over as athletics director, we had probably 13, 14, 15% of females on our campus. It's one of the things I feel most proud of is when I started talking about the implementation of women's sports, everybody's, why would we do that? We only have 13, 14, 15% of women on campus. And I'm like, exactly.
Yep.
Think what we could do with the increase of females enrollment as well as school spirit and everything we're trying to do. And we started off with women's volleyball. Today, Bill, we have almost 50% of our student athletes are females. So and they're good. They're really good. They're special. And so, it's going from 5 sports to 20 plus sports right now. It's been a lot of fun watching and being part of that.
It's an impressive, it truly is an impressive run. And you were athletic director until?
I was athletic director for about 21, 22 years. And what we kept doing is different research. What level did we eventually want to play at? NCAA Division I or II, or stay NAIA? We stayed NAIA really because the Champion at Character program was really, really powerful. We were building strong student athletes that were talented in every area of their life. Then we started feeling like there's maybe some other schools we'd like to align ourselves with from an academic standpoint, the Rollins, the Florida Southerns. And so we looked into that league, and Dr. John Johnson had everything to do with helping us get into that level. And once you try to apply to be an NCAA school, they don't really allow you to be the director of athletics and coach a main sport. They want that split. And we didn't want to take any chances. So Dr. Johnson asked me which one did I really want to do. And I shared, well, which one do you want me to do? Because I want you to be director of athletics. I went, well, can I have a day to think about that? I want you to still build the culture. I still want you to help me with fundraising. I want you to do all that. So I went back and said, Vicki, I don't know why I asked him that. So I told him I really like to coach, and that's when he said, hey, let's set it up where you can be a special assistant to me, help me with some of these projects we got going on. You can still coach and keep an eye and an ear on this athletic program, how we build it. And that's what the relationship we had, and that's how that transition going from director of athletics and basketball coach to now just basketball coach and try to help out in some other areas.
And the timing was perfect, and the things you've been doing has been perfect. And JP, John Phillips, came over as the athletic director, did an outstanding job. And now we're NC2A Division II.
Trying to build one of the premier, if not best, programs in the country in all areas.
Yeah, and we're doing it.
We are. We're making great progress. Dr. Rachel Burleson is doing a great job, and her leadership has been fun to see how she approaches. She's assembled a great team. A lot of talent and working hard to continue to grow every day.
So you had mentioned, thank you for sharing all that. I mean, the history is incredible. And not for some people, they're not aware that Embry-Riddle had a basketball team way, way back, and they used to fly their games. So there's a picture of the basketball team. They would fly to their other colleges, outdoor courts, of course, and, do that, which is kind of cool. They would, go from there. You had mentioned the name John Wooden, basketball coach.
Yeah.
And you've received some awards that are pretty comparable, haven't you?
He's at a different level. I've been blessed over the year to assemble such great teams, and even as athletic director, and some of those awards or recognition truly is the work, and not just being humble. It was the ability to attract talented people that got up every day, that brought a lot to the table. And one of the things I really thrive on being a leader is I have no problem surrounding myself with people that are better and more talented than me. I like to learn. I like to grow. And that's what we assembled. And I thought at one time we had the best infrastructure, the best athletic program set of sports marketing, sports information, sports medicine, everything, fundraising, everything we're doing. I still think that's today. And then, as far as teams, it starts with you got to have a great staff. I've had great assistant coaches. I have Joe Cameron and Al Jackson, and I've had a great run of guys that have been with me for 7 years. And Rob Graham just did a great job with her. And then, of course, Chad Keller, who's just recently passed, he's with me for 21 years. So we've always assembled a great coaching staff and sports medicine. And then we really committed to the student person player. And that's how you get to have one of the best teams in the country. You have guys that are high character. They trust each other. They're humble. They're all in, and they know how to play the game. So that's how we've been able to do it over the years. It's been the secret sauce is, we kind of shelve our ego. We just don't care who gets the credit, and we just buy into us reaching our maximum potential.
That's fantastic. And for anybody out there, if you have not been back to campus, you need to come back and watch one of the games, any of the sports, quite frankly. But obviously, basketball is a whole nother level. Let's talk about the national championship. So there's a surprise, and out of I won't say maybe a surprise for you, but it was a surprise, coming forward. Can you talk about that?
It was one of the probably might be the greatest experience we've ever had as a coaching staff and student athletes. We had one game to win with 3 in regular season to win a conference championship and host a tournament. And we lost the first one, I think, in overtime. The second one in double over. The third one, we were just we lost. Now we don't get to host a game. We got to go on the road, and we have to win back-to-back games against Warner Southern in the semis in Palm Beach at their place in their house to go to the national tournament. And we were down 17 in that championship game, came back and won all the way back on their home floor. We're cutting down the nets, and we're thinking, hey, we just did something spectacular. We had a chip on our shoulder. Now it's drive for 5. It's going to take 5 games to win a national title. If we just pulled off what we just pulled off with our backs to the wall, let's go do something special. And we did. And to win 5 straight games in about 8 days at Branson, Missouri. That night, March 14th, year 2000, to cut down the nets at 10 o'clock at night and have some trustees there and 2 of our presidents, Dr. Ebbs and former president, Dr. Sleboa, just some of the most important people at our university that impacted not just our athletic program, but our entire university. But I can't help to tell you, if some people have ever read about it, when that buzzer went off, and you're thinking that dream that you had to win a national title, you can't wait to hug your wife. Thank you, Vicki, man, for all the sacrifice. Your kids are there, you're excited. My mom's there going crazy. And here comes the eagle that looked more like a chicken that night.
So we had Ernie the Eagle, the mascot, because that was around back then, wasn't he?
He was a big part of it. And, he was a little jacked up before the game. He kept headbutting some of my best players, and even 2 of them came up, and I said, man, Coach, you might need to say something to our Eagle, man. He's a little too jacked.
And has the Eagle ever been to any other games?
He had, but he had not been as visible on the floor, engaged with our team. And when that buzzer went off, that Eagle started following me around. I gave him a hug. Then I gave him another. I say, man, thanks for your impact. I love it. But there are a lot of people to hug and high five your players, right? And he came to me about the 3rd time wanting to hug and stuff. I said, come on now, give me some space. Let's go. So he starts to go over by my family and he starts waving to me like, come on over. I'm like, I go over to my family. It's my mom. It's my kids, Vicky, and they're laughing. They have a great time. Bill, to this day, this is a true story. He pulls off that mascot, and it is my best friend, my brother, Dan, who is a principal of a school, who tells nobody that he's going to dress up. He rents a Eagle mascot in Branson that day, puts it on. What's scary is he got to come all the way down on the floor with us. Think about today in security. And so when he pulls that mascot, I'm just telling you, I'm melting around like, this is the greatest story. And it was on TV back in Kentucky, and people back home, he told a few people at home, so they're all watching like, there's Danny, he's in the mascot, he's getting close. So we still have that one today, and that's the kind of brother he has been, but honestly, had no idea that was him, but about ready to tell him to hit the road, and you're starting to get, not one time were you in my dream when we won the national title.
Well, that's again, all about family, all about character, all about support, which is really what you envision with your team. That's always. Right. And, and I, no disrespect to the other teams and how far they've gone, but this was one we all find early in our career. There's something that's, that's a pinnacle that sharpens it going forward. Yeah. And this sharpens you going forward. No question.
We had great leadership. Jason Cruz and Jan Price are two seniors. These are two guys that are doing extremely well life after basketball. These were two guys that had tremendous swag. They were not going to lose. Jason Cruz got voted Business Student of the Year. Jan Price now works for a well-known aviation company selling aviation products that he never thought he was going to do, but he's a salesman and he's really, really good. Jason Cruz, he gets Player of the Year, Bill, and MVP. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say this little story. We lose the year before in the second round. This guy is possessed. 2:30 in the morning, somebody's knocking on my door in a hotel. I'm like, oh, they better not have made a bad decision. I answer the door. Vicky's like, everything okay? I said, it's Jason Cruz. And so, Jason, is there something wrong? Coach, I can't take it. So what's wrong? Man, we shouldn't have lost. But you got to tell me right now, Coach, I got 1 year left. I got to know how we're going to win a national title. And what do I got to do to make that happen? I'm like, dude, it's 2:30. You just got eliminated. We can talk about this tomorrow. He goes, Coach, I don't want to talk about it tomorrow. I want to talk about it now. Okay. So I said, all right. So I shut the door, went on the outdoor steps. We sat there for another hour. We talked about this a couple of days ago. He called me. I said, do you remember this? Exactly what I remember. He goes, I'm thinking I got 1 year left. I got to do this. And you needed to tell me then. Now think about that, how much it meant to him. That's the guy who led us to a national title, especially down the stretch he took over. So what a heck of a player, and is doing an amazing job at life after basketball.
And actually, you can go down through the pedigree of all of your players. They've had great lives after basketball. I mean, there's no question about it.
All different, but that's one of our it's one of our goals, is try to prepare them with life lessons so they got a chance to be an impact in their community and do well in their profession. We'd love for them to be great dads and, great grandpas one day, but it's important for us to just teach more than just the game of basketball, Bill. That's what really, to be brutally honest, what keeps me fired up every day today is trying to impact their lives, learning the game of basketball, but trying to utilize life lessons that they can use for the rest of their life. It's real stuff. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm just saying it's a priority in our teaching every day.
And it is so important. And it's one of the reasons we have a successful programs with your foundation. Switch gears real quick. Your family. Basketball still it's not just you.
Yeah. You've heard this probably from other coaches, but the game of basketball has been amazing for our family. It's put us in a lot of different countries. It's put us in a lot of different states. It's given us experiences, memories that we will never forget. I never really coached up my sons to get into coaching, just like I didn't really coach them up to play for me, but two of them transferred back from NCAA schools to play at Embry-Riddle. But Ryan's our oldest, and he's a Division I head coach. He's been on the fast track. He did a great job at Daytona, got him to Bethune-Cookman, won the league at Bethune-Cookman, won 4 or 5 at Daytona State. Then he got to go to UT Martin in the Ohio Valley Conference, won that league, and now he's currently the head coach at Mercer up in Macon, Georgia, and they're in the Southern Conference. Amazing conference. Got a great life, got a beautiful wife, beautiful 3 girls, and it's a tough job now. I mean, there's a little bit of pressure. I'll call him. He's got this going on. He's speaking here. And it's, NIL. I mean, he's got to raise money. He's got to spend money. His younger brother, our youngest son, is on his staff, and Reed followed him when he went to UT Martin, was very impactful in recruiting some of the players that helped him win a conference championship. So they're in the game together. And Reed just got married last weekend to Cam, and she's a former women's soccer player at UT Martin, and a really good one. So they got something special really going on. And then, of course, what's really crazy is Rachel, our daughter, who played here. She's got, her husband's one of our former players, Brown and Brown, and they got five children, 4 boys and a girl. So they're around basketball a lot. So it's just a big part of our life.
It's in the DNA without question. So as we might have to do podcast number 2 unplugged as we look at timing. But when we think about, are there any, you have 2 sons who are great coaches right now. And actually you had 3 sons, all 3, you have a beautiful, wonderful family as we looked at it. But as we look at it, was there any advice you gave them coaching wise that they just kind of totally blew you off on? Did you ever say anything?
I don't see them blowing me off, but I still see them at their age, and I can't say I was much different, but their desire to cut down the nets, okay? I know I had that desire, and still, it's part of it. But it's the old school in me that comes. I say old school, but now I call it new school as well, is I think this profession, if it's done the right way, I see it to be like a ministry. I'm not worthy of being a minister, but I see the profession right now is literally getting up every day and serving others. And how can I create a gold standard elite student athlete experience for these 15 young men that I have? And I want them to come across that was the best 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6 years of my life. And that's where I transform from this guy who's okay into a real human being that got up every day and got the feel for the big picture. It's not Ryan and Reed that they don't connect with, that they do, particularly Ryan now that has 3 girls. But it's them understanding what I think sometimes, reminding them. They don't blow it off, but I got to remind them a little bit that balance in your life is really important, and serving your student athletes is really how to attack it. The thing that I just, I'm always trying to look to do different things is that, we have a different profession today with the NIL and all these other different things that can happen, but they're all factors. You can still get up every day and create a culture that you're proud of, and have days where you just get up every day, you're on fire about what you get to do. So my last thing with that, Bill, they kid me all the time. They're like, Dad, you could have had this Georgia Southern. You could have had this job, and that would have led to this job. And then you could have probably then been the coach at Vanderbilt. And I kid with them like, and what? I found a sweet spot where everything fit me. I can't imagine all the experiences I've had at Embry-Riddle that I could have been any more happier in Nashville, Tennessee at Vandy. I hit a sweet spot in my life that I thought that, man, Vicki and I are doing everything we can to be great parents. I'm trying to be a coach and a leader, an athletic director, and I'm being around great kids. I'm in the community trying to make a difference here. I got time to be a dad. When I put it all together, it kind of was a no-brainer for me to not chase something that everybody thinks is bigger, because you're on a bigger stage. More people want your coattail. You got less time for your family. It never really fascinated me. it fascinated me is how can I max out in those other areas that I continue at times to fall short. And that's why I stayed here, because of the people and the quality of life.
And if there's a lesson for anyone listening, whether it's faculty, whether it's staff, whether it's one of your players who, when they graduate, go, where am I going to best be fulfilled? As we know, when we're young, you're chasing money.
Yeah.
You know, here's the dollar, here's this.
Yeah. Or visibility as well.
Or visibility. Yeah. And here we are at Riddle. And a lot of people at Riddle are there for the passion of the students, for the passion of what they do.
Totally agree.
Passion of aviation and all the other things that we do. This was the passion, but you recognize the fit and the rewards. So I'm going to throw how many weddings have you been invited to?
Yeah.
You must have a whole budget set aside. You and Vicky say, every year we're going to set aside $50,000 for weddings. It's got to be.
It's fun. It's fun. We just had one, of course, one of our own, our last one with Reed. And what I love, Bill, when I saw these guys walking down, I think he had 8 in the wedding, and 7 of them were his college teammates. That's one of the things that I coach and recruit. And I tell young men, when you come here 3, 4, 5, 6 years, this is where your guys are going to be coming from, are going to be your college teammates in your wedding. We will surround you with such good dudes in that locker room that you're going to get humbled, because you will not be the most talented, not even in the classroom. I don't care if you're a 4.0 student. We'll have 2 or 3 or 4 of those guys. You know, I don't care if you think, hey, you're going to get humbled, but it's also going to make you better, right? To push yourself. But you are going to love the culture and the family and the brotherhood. And when those guys walk down the aisle, and I said, man, there's Hudson Cadet. He's an engineer. Oh, here comes Brian Johnson. He flies professionally for commercial airlines. You know, here comes Eddie. He served our country. Here comes Dylan Graham. He's at construction, played at Florida. You know, I keep looking and watching these guys, and I'm like, good job, Reed. You got out of Embry-Riddle the most important thing, great education, but a group of real friends that have your back and you have their back. That was pretty emotional. So we get invited to a lot of weddings. We get to be involved in them. I just feel blessed every time I go there. It's just watching. It gets a little emotion because, yeah, that guy was a great 3-point shooter, but look at him. He's got a really cool career. And then they're learning the value of the most important decision they're making at that time is your soulmate for the rest of your life. Come on, let's just be honest.
Yep.
That's it. That is it. And I watch their selection, and some of them I go, you're way out of your league. You better work at it every day. So that's been fun to see these guys, you know, take that next stage in their life.
How awesome. It's a good way to end this conversation, I think, as we're looking at it. But is there anything else you'd like to say? I mean, it's such a legacy at Embry-Riddle, such a discussion about, you know, and it's basketball. It's if you're in the rocketry research lab, if you're in one of the club sports, if you're a flight instructor, it's the people around you. You're the connections. Obviously, the athletic side brings a whole tighter one because of all the time commitment together. But is there one other thing you'd love to close today with as we talk about your legacy in Embry-Riddle and everything?
I just, you know, our profession gets a lot of recognition and a lot of visibility and all that. And I just think from day one, I have always seen it as a privilege and an honor for me to be the coach at Embry-Riddle, and not that Embry-Riddle should be getting up every day thinking, man, we're lucky to have Steve Ritter. No, when I walk away from it one day, and I don't know when that's going to be. I always kid. I said to our players 2 days ago, there are going to be a group of people, probably a lot of them, that just say, hey, coach, don't let the door hit you on the way out. This is a tough profession, but I have always felt valued from all of our presidents. I have developed strong friendships with a number of trustees that helped pave the way.
Yeah.
I have had a blast for being in the trenches with some of the best teammates that I could have ever imagined to work with. And so it is, without a doubt, it's my privilege. I'm the one that's honored to get a paycheck from Embry-Riddle. And I just want to always show gratitude for allowing Vicky and our family to have a wonderful life. So I'm grateful for everybody at Embry-Riddle who's put their hand in that.
Fantastic. Coach Steve, thank you so much for joining us today in the podcast. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for motivating. I mean, this is, and we know it goes way beyond everything that we've said here. There's so many more stories, but your passion has always shown through. If I'm doing a tour and I walk in and you just say, if you come across the court and say a few words, everybody's like, oh, he loves what he does. It's no question about it. And it's loving what you do and serving correctly. We know that's just the pinnacle of what we're doing. So for all of us out there, for you out there in the podcast world, we just say thank you to our fellow Eagles. Thank you for supporting Embry-Riddle Athletics. Thank you for being an Eagle out there. Try not to be the chicken at a national championship game if you can do it. But if you are, make sure that you're known before they throw you off the court. But this has been a great opportunity to get to know you better, to share with everybody out there in the audience. For those of you who'd like to know more, check out our website, check out the email address. Just contact us, and we would be glad to find out more. If you want to know more about Steve, if you want to know less about Steve, if you want to know more about somebody else, Embry-Riddle Athletics, all the great things that happen at this university, past, present, and future, contact us. Thank you for joining us on this Eagle Heritage Project podcast with Coach Steve Ritter. Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate your work.
Absolutely an honor.